My name's Kirsten. I'm a third-year illustrator at the Stellenbosch Academy of Design and Photography. We were given a very open brief, so we could basically choose anything we wanted to do, and I was very interested in doing something that would make people think, would allow people to interact with my work. It took a very, very long time for me to finally arrive at this space. I think I've been working with textures and like the idea of the fragmented earth for a long time. So I think I've been building up to it for the last 2 years probably. But I've never done an installation, so it was a huge learning curve to think about how people would interact with it, if they would, how I would have to prompt them to interact with the piece, and ultimately whether it would make them step back and think about what they did. So I planned the whole piece and I had worked out how I thought people would interact with it, but I ultimately had no control over how people were going to interact with it, how they were going to look at it, or if they would even interact with it. So from that point of view, it was quite scary to not know what was going to happen to my piece. I had no control over what it would look like at the end, which I think as an illustrator and as a communicator was quite scary for me to let go of what I usually do control, I had no control over, and then also to watch my work get taken apart bit by bit after spending a few days building the piece and a few weeks conceptualizing it. That was quite painful, but it was exactly what I was trying to communicate. So I think I've learned a lot, but it was definitely very interesting to watch people, especially in the beginning. They were very hesitant to take a piece from the perfect landscape, and it was also interesting that people quite easily followed the system I'd created, which I also think speaks about the systems that are put in place for us, and we just naturally become a part of them, and we don't really think about our actions. Being normal citizens, we just take for granted the structures in place and often don't question them and whether they are the right things for us to be going through. I created watercolor textures. I also incorporated pins and string. The string was natural cotton, and it was to kind of communicate the fact that everything is connected, and if you remove one thing it will affect the rest of the space. And then the pins are made of steel, and ultimately we need the pins to recreate structures and construct things, and basically symbolize like the fossil fuels, the things we take away from the environment to create our new space. And then the paper, obviously trees, and also just to make it look visually exciting and to get people interested in it. I definitely did need color and something different to draw people in. And then it was built over the course of a few days. The pieces, I cut each piece individually by hand. It's something that I just feel in the process of how to cut and place things. The landscape I kind of had in the back of my head was a Karoo landscape because that's where I'm from, so it's a landscape that I know so well, and one that I've been around and seen my whole life, so it's also very personal to me, and it's a landscape that which is so fresh in my memory and such a strong memory that I don't need any source images to build from. And yeah, so basically my idea was that people would need the pins from the perfect environment to interact with the next piece. So they would have to, in essence, disturb my one piece to create the new piece. So basically I built the piece. It's made out of lots of fragmented textures and small pieces that all create one large landscape. And the aim was to get people to interact with it, to deconstruct it, to degrade it, because they needed to create something else. Basically looking at how we are constantly taking from the earth to further ourselves and to make more things and build our new environments. So basically people took from the perfect landscape and then built up a new gridded and very structured space, they had no idea what they were creating or what the aim of the piece was. So I think many people got quite intrigued and they got very involved, and because the second piece was a number-based structure, people got quite OCD about sticking to that structure and sticking to that grid system, which I think is something that we've been taught to do.